Welcome to Winchester News Online. I'm Hege Horgen. The UK has introduced new COVID restrictions after the emergence of the variant Omicron worldwide, some of which are coming into effect today. Tom Hooker investigates into why the variant is so effective and how the public feels about being masked once again.
With countless discoveries of new COVID variants since the beginning of the pandemic, the news of another doesn't sound that important. However, concern has been brought over new variant B.1.1.529, or commonly known as Omicron. It was first detected in the UK last Saturday and pushed Prime Minister Boris Johnson to address the public.
We need to take targeted and proportionate measures now as a precaution while we find out more. We will also go further in asking all of you to help contain the spread of this variant by tightening up the rules on face coverings in shops and on public transport.
Omicron was first discovered earlier this month in Botswana, with it also tracking back to South Africa. This caused it to be declared by the World Health Organization as a variant of concern on the 26th of November, the highest alert category for emerging COVID variants. Its strength comes from the fact it has already accumulated over 30 mutations, some helping the virus escape detection from antibodies, others making the variant more transmissible, as well as reducing the immune response induced by vaccines. The UK's response to the variant has begun today, with masks now mandatory in both shops and public transport, to some people's backing and others' disapproval.
I think it's a great idea. I think it really helps, reduce the spread and kind of helps prevent another lockdown.
I can't say it's something I'm really looking forward to, but if it's got to be, it's got to be, and I'm quite happy to accept it.
Rather they didn't. I don't mind public transport so much, but in shops, I think we've now just got used to the fact that we're not wearing them.
Well, it can be annoying and they're easy to forget, but it's probably for the best.
Health Secretary Sajid Javid said the measures have been put in place to ensure that everyone can enjoy Christmas with their families, and that the government had acted swiftly and in a proportionate way, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson adding that the measures will be reviewed in 3 weeks' time. Tom Hooker, Winchester News Online.
New measurements affecting our university. Anil Oliver has more.
On Saturday, Boris Johnson announced that some of the COVID restrictions are coming back in place, such as masks in shops and public transports, as well as added countries to the red travel list. But what does that mean for our students? Masks will not be mandatory, but students and staff are strongly encouraged to wear them in order to protect face-to-face teaching. Students and staff arriving from red list countries will have to self-isolate for 10 days and take day 2 and 8 COVID tests. International students are advised to start planning their holidays ahead and pay attention to potential travel restrictions. University services and placements will continue to run as planned. At the moment in Winchester University, there are 16 COVID cases. University is continuing to work closely with NHS, Public Health England and local authorities to ensure students and staff safety. Further changes are expected in the next upcoming days.
Well, the focus is now on new infections. For many people, long COVID is a bigger concern. Daisy Speller has talked to someone who has been affected.
By now, we all know the most common symptoms of COVID-19. Dry cough, the high fever and loss of taste or smell, but some people are beginning to feel the long-term effects of the coronavirus. Some of these symptoms are having a devastating effect on people's lives. The NHS estimated back in October of 2020, around 60,000 people could be suffering from long COVID symptoms for more than 3 months after catching the virus. And because COVID-19 is still relatively new, there is still a lot we don't know about the long-term effects. There have also been reports of the impact of long COVID on mental health, causing anxiety and stress. Without official guidance, people are finding their own ways to look after themselves whilst they recover. 19-year-old healthcare assistant Millie Foster was diagnosed with COVID-19 back in August this year, but is still suffering from symptoms now.
I honestly thought it was every illness but COVID. I thought it was just norovirus, I thought it was a common cold. I think COVID had been around for so long, and at the time when I caught COVID I was doubly vaccinated. I really thought I was invincible, so I didn't assume it was COVID for ages. I was really dizzy, I had awful tummy aches, and I didn't have like the generic symptoms of like the cough. Like, I don't think I ever had a cough with COVID. My smell and taste definitely were affected, and I still can't really taste to this day, and I definitely took that for granted before.
In a study carried out by the National Institute for Health Research, it was discovered that up to 1 in 7 children and young people who had COVID-19 may have symptoms linked to the virus 15 weeks later. The 14% of teenagers who had persistent symptoms mostly complained of headaches and extreme tiredness.
A very, very common feature is the fluctuating or the relapsing, remitting feature of the illness. You feel you've recovered, and that's my personal experience as well. And so many times you think, that's it, I made it, I've recovered, and then it hits you back, and it's kind of a constant cycle of disappointment.
However, with the new Omicron variant, more research is needed to understand how this virus affects us long term.
And we have Daisy in the studio right now to tell us about Omicron. So what can you tell us about the new variant?
So the new variant Omicron was first detected in Botswana. It sent Europe into high alert as cases were detected in UK, Germany, Italy and Belgium, and it's also named after the 15th letter in the Greek alphabet. Yeah.
So how many cases are there currently in the UK?
So as of today, there are currently 14. There were 3 more cases in Scotland today. So yeah, it's brought the UK total to 14, which is quite a lot.
So should we be concerned about the new variant?
Well, it's actually got double the amount of mutations as the Delta variant, so it's a lot more contagious. So we should be worried on that front. But I know that fatigue and high pulse are some of the symptoms, and so it is showing some new symptoms, and obviously as we don't know much about it, we obviously can't say if there's more worrying symptoms like to come once there have been more cases. But it is still showing like loss of taste and smell and a dry cough, so it's not too worrying yet.
Next we have something else that has affected us all, Storm Arwen. Izzy Higgs has looked into how climate change affects extreme weather.
Global warming is changing our weather on a level that's affecting us all. Storm Arwen wreaked havoc across the UK this weekend, believed to be the worst storm in the UK in 10 years. The increasing number of storms can likely be blamed on global warming, according to a NASA study. Temperatures last month were believed to be the warmest October in record, and the amount of days with heavy rainfall in the UK could rise by 3 days a year, which may not seem like much, but currently there's an average of 7 days of very heavy rainfall a year. Winchester wasn't too badly affected by the storm, however, other than strong winds, and like most of the country, we saw light snowfall on Sunday evening, giving us beautiful views to wake up to on Monday morning.
Portsmouth opened their new clean air zone on Monday, meaning drivers with polluting vehicles have to pay to drive through the southwest of the city. Alistair English has more on the story.
Portsmouth's Clean Air Zone opens on Monday. Drivers will have to pay to travel through the highly polluted area. There are some exemptions, however. For example, emergency vehicles such as ambulances don't have to pay, whereas taxis, who pay £10, and HGVs, who pay £50, do. Portsmouth Council will look to expand the Clean Air Zone to make the city cleaner.
Now obviously as an administration, we don't just want to hit compliance and that's done with it. We want to make sure that it's like we just smash the target and that it's cleaner for everywhere, not just these 2 roads but everywhere in the city. So that's why we're trying to introduce things that help people out of cars or out of any polluting vehicles and to alternative forms of transport.
The government has imposed a clean air zone in Portsmouth. Councillors say there are better alternatives. However, residents believe it's a good idea.
I mean, everybody wants to breathe clean air, especially I expect if you're asthmatic.
Most of the pollution is cars, so I can see if there would be some sort of service charge towards that, I wouldn't see it as an issue.
We have to take a step forward and minimise the use of the cars, so I think it's a good idea.
The zone is in the southwest of the city, with Alfred Road and Fratton Road bordering the area. In the next few years, Portsmouth will see different clean travel schemes such as e-scooters and bike lanes, which have already begun. Alistair English, Winchester News Online.
The latest developments in the new regeneration of central Winchester were published in the last week. Torin Budd reports.
The committee behind the Central Winchester Regeneration Project hosted another open forum this past week to gather the public's opinion on the City Council's plans for the Silver Hill and Kings Walk area. Winchester City Council published a statement saying, "The site of the old Friarsgate Medical Centre is set for a major transformation. Winchester City Council has been working on plans to demolish the derelict building and replace it with a new area of public open space, whilst plans for longer-term regeneration of the site are progressed." Councillor Kelsey Lurney, who's the chair of the committee behind the regeneration project, added that the creation of this new space and the planned improvements to nearby King's Walk will herald a new lease of life for the area. This is the first step to drawing people in and making a huge difference to the vibrancy of the heart of our city.
There's a museum there, so I know there's talk about having a Saxon museum there, so I think that would be a really good thing.
A lot of times the shops tend to be vacant or empty, so it'd be good if they can maybe reduce the rates there and try and encourage more entrepreneurship really in the town.
No, I actually like Winchester the way that it is. It's a very nice city.
I love this sort of area of the city. I think it's fantastic. But I think the area with the regeneration, it does look a bit more run down, and that could probably be, I don't know, just a little bit more modernised.
After another open forum with the City Council, the future of Sill Hill is close to being decided. Torrin Budd, Winchester News Online.
The pharmaceutical company Roche and the health regulatory body for the UK have come to a temporary agreement on a treatment for people with spinal muscular atrophy. The drug stops or slows down the progression of the condition. Ben Boris finds out more.
A temporary agreement has been reached between the pharmaceutical company Roche and the National Institution for Clinical Excellence. A managed access agreement has been created to enable patients with spinal muscular atrophy to access a drug known as risdiplam. Spinal muscular atrophy is a progressive neurological condition, which means the messages from the brain don't get to the muscles properly, meaning that the muscles get weaker over time. However, some patients were able to receive the treatment before this agreement was created.
When I first started it, I noticed some incremental minor things. I felt stronger, and I was able to make some progress on the kind of muscle chart tests that they do.
Able-bodied people are born with two types of survival motor neuron. These are labelled as SMN1 and SMN2. SMN1 is responsible for large movements, such as the movements of arms and legs, whilst SMN2 keeps the individual alive. In patients with SMA, the SMN1 protein has either died or mutated. What risdiplam does is it takes the SMN2 protein and splits it in half, therefore creating more SMN1s. This, therefore, stops the progression of the condition and potentially makes the patient stronger. I've been talking to SMA UK about how important access to the drug really is.
I mean, I think it's huge for the SMA community because it brings choice for some, but for others, it's the first time they've got access to a treatment, because this one is delivered orally. And the one that's been available, which is called nusinersen or Spinraza, is via lumbar puncture, and that doesn't work for everybody. So again, you know, something you can take at home is a huge breakthrough. So really, really important to the SMA community.
It is expected that in the next 3 years, Roche and NICE will come to a final agreement on the funding of the treatment. Ben Morris, Winchester News Online.
Now on to our armed forces, as new plans have been unveiled by the government and look to have an impact on a local scale. So Tom, you've been looking into this. Can you tell me a bit more?
So there's been an increase in defence funding. This has been brought in by the Ministry of Defence. It's called the Future Soldier Plans. The most interesting aspect of these plans is that there's actually going to be a reduction in army size from 83,000 soldiers down to 72,000. And that's going to be implemented by 2025. There's also been to upholster this. a £8.6 billion funding into army equipment. Other aspects of it is there's going to be a new regiment. This is called the Ranger Regiment. Now this is to counter extremist organisations. And then on top of that, there's also going to be new equipment and technology implemented into the armed forces to help with our NATO operations.
So what does this mean on a local level?
So we have our own barracks in Winchester. They're called the Sir John Moore Barracks. In 2016, it was planned that they'd be left by the Army in December 2019. That was then pushed back to a phased disposal in 2022 to 2024, but now it's recently been decided that the Army will leave the site in 2026. The Defence Secretary has said that this has been done in order to make the barracks more deployable and lethal.
So what will happen to the site?
So there's been multiple things suggested. The main thing is that there's going to be a variety of housing. There's also going to be sport and leisure facilities to help the community. There's going to be a park and ride as well as this. And there's also going to be a little bit of opposition from campaigners. They want the space used, 25 hectares of it, for a nature resource.
Thank you, Tom. Gas and fuel prices have increased nationwide, affecting small companies even more after a difficult 2 years. Poppy Munro-Scott finds out more.
As the rise in gas and fuel prices increase, so does the pressure on small businesses. Following a nationwide lockdown, the gas and fuel prices could be the final straw in a line of hardships for small businesses. Chococo, a local cafe that specialises in everything chocolate, is an example of many independent companies that are successful despite noticing an increase in fuel bills.
So I definitely seen the price increase.
Producing, storing and delivering all of their chocolate could further raise these costs. However, they try to minimise trips to deliver, packing the van as much as possible. In addition to purchasing a new electric van, a decision that not only will lessen fuel costs but also diesel emissions.
So we're trying to also reduce our carbon footprint as well. So we have seen a bit of an impact with buying the electric van. So hopefully that will be used a lot more now than our diesel van, and we can help try and save the planet.
As Earthian's ethos is focused on eco-friendly, sustainably sourced products, their conservative use of energy is very much in line with their values.
It has definitely affected our overheads, and it's made cash flow a lot tighter than it was before, which it already was quite difficult to manage everything coming and going each month. But overall we're managing okay, and we're just trying to keep an eye on things.
I'm Poppy Munro-Scott for Winchester News Online.
That's the news from this week. Now we go over to sport with Harry Turbofield.
After the postponement of last week's matches due to the adverse weather conditions, Winchester City hosted Cirencester Town on Saturday at the City Ground. Cameron Cornell was there to cover the action.
Cirencester Town were the latest visitors to the Simply Heath City Ground on Saturday afternoon in a crucial playoff clash. After a cagey opening half an hour, with both teams knowing the importance of a result, the home side managed to create a few of the better chances, and it was the home side who made the breakthrough, Ollie Barmer slotting home after a scramble in the box. But the lead didn't last long, the visitors striking back just 2 minutes later, and 1 minute before half time, to the frustration of the Winchester City fans. In the cold weather and fierce winds, enough to blow the camera over, it seemed like a game of coping with the condition, and Cirencester coped better, taking the lead shortly into the second half, with Joshua Grace Parsons calmly slotting home to the delight of the travelling fans. And the away side were awarded a spot kick after the number 11 was brought down, but a poor penalty was dragged wide, keeping the home side within touching distance. But that didn't last for long, with a tidy Cirencester move finished off to make the scoreline 3-1 to the away side. And it went from bad to worse for the citizens. Substitute Kieran Douglas was shown a straight red card after a high tackle. The frustration was showing for the home side.
Yeah, it was a disappointing result. I think the conditions had a massive impact in the game. First half we had the wind with us, we didn't take full advantage of that. We've gone 1-0 up, we've had two other really good chances where we probably should have scored, no doubt about that.
Players were trying to adapt
It was quite difficult, and actually I thought Cirencester came on top, certainly in the second half.
Next up for Winchester City is a trip to Poulton Rovers next Saturday. They'll be hoping to bounce back after the result today in a bid to finish in a playoff place. Cameron Cornell, Winchester News Online.
Eastleigh were also back in action this week as they faced Dagenham and Redbridge at the Silver Lake Stadium. Over to Jack Charlton and Harry Jones to see how they got on.
Eastleigh made it back-to-back wins in the National League after a 1-0 win at Dagenham and Redbridge. Harry's here with me to talk about their recent form.
Yeah, well, two really positive results for Eastleigh over the past few weeks. A 2-0 win at home to Notts County, who are a side who are right in the race for promotion. So really positive result for them, confidence booster. And then to go and win Dagenham and Redbridge as well a few days later last Tuesday. It's a really fantastic sign for them. That's just their second away win of the season so far, and really good to see them get a clean sheet. I know we'll talk a bit more about that later. So really positive signs. They've endured a pretty tough start to the season at Eastleigh. They got knocked out of the FA Cup by Boreham Wood a few weeks ago, and they were struggling. They were threatening to get into a bit of a relegation scrap. So 6 points in the last few weeks is really crucial for them.
And one of the big positives has been their level of discipline in recent weeks. Back-to-back clean sheets for the Spitfires. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that's brilliant. I'm sure manager Ben Stevens will be extremely happy with those 2 clean sheets, 2 in a row. Getting one against Notts County, who I said are one of the best teams in the league, would have been fantastic for them. I'm sure they'll be extremely happy with that. And then getting their first clean sheet on the road this season would have been brilliant. And it bodes well for them going into that tough Christmas period, I think.
Thanks, Harry. Here's Harry Turberfield with the rest of the sport.
That's all for the sport this week. Back to you, Hager.
Wishes are being granted this Christmas as a local cafe introduces their Wish Christmas tree. Cafe Bridge in Andover is helping to tackle homelessness by accepting donations to make Christmas wishes come true. Niana McGee reports.
With the holiday season almost upon us, excitement is well and truly in the air. But Christmas can be a daunting time for those without a place to call home. Helping to tackle homelessness this Christmas is community-run business Cafe Bridge in Andover. It's part of the local service Bridge House, which provides supported accommodation units and advice on homelessness, eviction notices and housing issues for those who are vulnerable or at risk of becoming homeless. The cafe provides services for people in need all year round, with pay-it-forward schemes and donation opportunities to help the local community. This year, they're helping Christmas wishes come true with the introduction of their Wish Christmas tree.
People can come in and ask for a wish, we'll put the wish on the tree, on a tag, and then somebody can come in and grant their wish, or they can donate, and then we can grant the wish for them. We've had lots of people asking for wishes, lots of people struggling, and lots of people coming in to offer their help, so it's been really amazing. Some people have been really generous.
The cafe works closely with the local Salvation Army charity shop, who donate necessities such as clothing and duvets to those in need. Together, the two businesses provide essential support to the local community.
The Bridge provide us with a letter, bring it down to the shop, and it will say this person needs a change of clothes or whatever they need. So we do our best to find what we can for them. We do keep in our back room, we keep all the sleeping bags, tents, underwear, all the bits and pieces that somebody might need. We never judge anybody, it's Bridge do a fantastic job, so we're quite happy to support them in any way.
Local businesses like these ones are doing extraordinary work to tackle this important issue, provide help and support for those who need it, and bring back the spirit of what Christmas is really all about. Niana McGee, Winchester News Online.
With Jen Howard.
Hi, I'm Jen with this week's entertainment. We've got a Christmas stocking full of soap dramas, Strictly Specials and maybe even a certain Man United player's book. So first up, we're looking at all the best reads out at the moment as we approach December. So Vithya, can you tell us a little bit about the best-selling books this season?
Mm-hmm. So You Are a Champion by Marcus Rashford and Carl Anka is one of the books that is shortlisted for Waterstone's Book of the Year 2021. The popularity of the book skyrocketed this year, and it was bought, so many schools, community groups and charities bought the book. And even though the book was only published in May 2021, it sold over 1 million copies. And in the book, Marcus Rashford, he talks about forging your own path and unlocking your full potential, which which many kids and even teenagers these days are interested to read about, and they like take it on board and try to relate to that. So other books that so as Christmas is approaching, the books to look out for this Christmas is The Swan by Stephen Moss, Wintering by Catherine May, and Christmas at River Cottage.
Cool, thank you Vidya. So that's all about books, but for those of us who aren't so keen on reading, we've got all your best Christmas telly. So here's a little sneak peek on what's to come. So we've got Grace Benson here to tell us about the festive specials we can look forward to this season. Grace.
So December's tomorrow, Jen, and we've got lots of great festive telly coming our way.
So what can we look forward to?
So BBC got their classics, they've got Strictly, they've got The Great British Sewing Bee, and they've also got called the Midwife Special, so there's going to be loads of babies being born over the festive period. ITV have got the Jonathan Ross Show, they've got loads of famous faces on his sofa, and they've also got the Royal Variety Performance. And they've got their classics, they've got Corrie, they've got Emmerdale, so I'm sure there's going to be loads of fights over the cobbles and in Albert Square over the Christmas period. And you can't forget about the festive treats on Channel 4 with the Great British Bake Off as well.
Absolutely. So what are you most looking forward to watching?
I think lots of people will join me in being really excited for Doctor Who on the BBC. Loads of people have been waiting since 2017. We were hoping for another Christmas special, but we'll have to make do with one a New Year's Day special. The Christmas Day special in 2017 had David Bradley, and he was co-starring as the first Doctor. So I'm really excited to see what they've got on New Year's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm looking forward to that called the Midwife Special. But if you're not as big a fan as me, we still have got a range of Christmas specials to look forward to in the next few weeks. So that's all from us today. Over to you, Hager.
That's all from Winchester News Online this week. See you next week.